Do you really believe these detention camps are only for illegals?
As I sit here and take in all of the news from every direction, all I see is deceivers, liars, corporate media, cover-ups, agenda, all pushing the same propaganda. It's time for a game changer, a visionary, an innovative person who changes the way that people think of the situations. It's time for Game Changer TV, telling it like it is. Get in the game.
Thank you for tuning in to Game Changer TV. I'm your host, Terri Lynn, and this is the channel where every day we're telling it like it is. Today is March 29th, 2026. I'm hoping my voice doesn't sound that bad. It's getting a little bit better. I apologize if I'm going to accidentally let a cough out, but let's get into this. Do you really think these detention camps that are being built are really just to house illegals? Or do you think it's possible that U.S. citizens are going to end up housed here also? Strap in for this. Strap in for this. Trump said Americans who do not work need to be deported. If you don't have a job in America, you need to be deported. Wait till you see where this is going. Wow.
Donald Trump just floated the idea of Americans who don't work be deported to other countries. That's right. If you ain't got no job and you ain't in one of those special categories, Donald Trump wants to deport you to a different country to live a different way of life so you won't live well. What do you think about Donald Trump now? So you better get a job because if you don't work, you're going to be deported.
Surely this can't be true, right? I can't find him saying it, but watch what I have found. Trump wants to deport Americans who don't have a job. Based on recent reports and public statements, Donald Trump has suggested the possibility of targeting American citizens for deportation, specifically focused on homegrown criminals or those he deems to be people that don't work. Although legal experts note significant constitutional barriers. Do you think that's going to bother him? So let's hear this again, and I have to show something else.
Donald Trump just floated the idea of Americans who don't work be deported to other countries. That's right. If you ain't got no job and you ain't in one of those special categories, Donald Trump wants to deport you to a different country to live a different way of life so you won't live well. What do you think about Donald Trump now? So you better get a job because if you don't work, you're going to be deported.
So when you go to Snopes, you know they love to say everything's fake news. Trump said he'd send criminals or people that don't work elsewhere if he could. Trump made the statement during a speech meant to honor American lives tragically taken by criminal illegal aliens. Correct attribution. I'm sorry, y'all. My mind's still not right. A rumor that U.S. President Donald Trump said he wants to send criminals and people that don't work out of the country, as he claimed other countries do when they send caravans to the United States, circulated online in late February 2026. This is from Mississippi Television about a month ago. Trump floats deporting Americans that don't work to other countries. President Donald Trump suggested Monday that the United States might consider sending Americans who don't work to other countries. So he's building detention facilities for illegals. And now he's floating the idea of sending Americans who don't work to other countries. So where is he going to hold these people that he wants to deport? Wait till we go down this rabbit hole. Are y'all ready?
Over the weekend, President Trump said that he would be willing to have U.S. citizens deported to El Salvador with the cooperation of President Bukele. How would that work legally, and how many people would potentially be available for that operation?
So the president has discussed this idea quite a few times publicly. He's also discussed it privately. You're referring to the president's idea for American citizens to potentially be deported. These would be heinous, violent criminals who have broken our nation's laws repeatedly. And these are violent, repeat offenders in American streets. The president has said, if it's legal, right? If there is a legal pathway to do that, he's not sure. We are not sure if there is. It's an idea that he has simply floated and has discussed very publicly as in the effort of transparency.
And all they have to do is redefine what a criminal is. Wait till we get into this. We're talking about American citizens. So we have our own judicial system in America that deals with violent criminals. They get put on trial. They get found guilty or not guilty. If they're found guilty, they go to a prison and they are kept there. Never in our history has an American citizen been deported to another country. Wait till y'all see where we're going. Hold on. This is flashback to him saying American homegrowns are next.
Yeah, I said homegrowns are next. So homegrown, still, you got to go about 5 more places. Yeah, that's Dave. All right.
So the president of the United States is just arbitrarily deciding, apart from the judicial system, to deport American citizens. No right to a trial. Let's hear this.
But we also have a lot of bad people that have been here for a long time. People that whack people over the head with a baseball bat from behind when they're not looking and kill them. People that knife you when you're walking down the street. They're not new to our country. They're old to our country. Many of them were born in our country. I think we ought to get them the hell out of here too.
Many are born in our country, and I think we should get them the hell out of here too. He is invoking emotional scenarios. We've got people here that whack people in the head with baseball bats, that knife people that were born here, but we need to get rid of them too. He's tying an emotionally charged situation to an illegal act so that people will get behind it. But he's bypassing the whole judicial system.
For a long time, people that whack people over the head with a baseball bat from behind when they're not looking and kill them. People that knife you when you're walking down the street. They're not new to our country. They're old to our country. Many of them were born in our country. I think we ought to get them the hell out of here too. You want to know the truth. So maybe that'll be the next job that we'll work on together.
He's laying down the legal justification to detain American citizens. Wait till y'all see this. Y'all are not ready. Y'all are not ready. Right now, everybody's clapping. Yay, detention camps being built for illegals. Until they redefine what an illegal is and Americans are sitting in there. Let's keep going. Remember, this is the president who says he doesn't know if he backs the constitutional right of due process. He doesn't know if he supports people charged with a crime being given a day in court to face their accusers. He said he doesn't know if he believes in given due process. So that would mean Americans rounded up would not have their right to court.
Can the Trump administration deport U.S. citizens?
We also have homegrown criminals that are absolute monsters. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country.
President Trump has floated the idea of deporting what he calls homegrown criminals who are U.S. citizens to a prison in El Salvador, the same place where he's sent immigrants that the government has accused of being gang members. It's pretty clear he can't do this under existing law, but that hasn't stopped the administration from claiming that they're looking to see if there's a legal pathway to do so.
The president has said, if it's legal, right? If there is a legal pathway to do that, he's not sure.
It's unclear if Trump is just talking about naturalized citizens, people who became citizens after entering the country as immigrants, or whether he's talking about any U.S. citizens.
Well, he already said people that were born here.
Principle would apply to both. There are very rare circumstances in which naturalized citizens can have their citizenship revoked, but it doesn't really seem like that's what the Trump administration is talking about here. But it doesn't really seem like that's what the Trump administration is talking about here. The legal experts I talked to quite simply said that immigration law does not provide for US citizens to be deported under any circumstances. The law is written to apply for immigrants who've entered the country from elsewhere who don't have citizenship.
Now, y'all remember, the devil, the Bible says, is very subtle. He's very sneaky. They're laying the groundwork on what illegals are and how to round up people. Wait till you get into this. Your mind is going to be blown. Yes or no, could legal IDs or digital IDs be used to control illegals? Yes, legal and digital IDs are considered by proponents to be a tool for managing illegal immigration. Yes or no? In the future, will the future of employment hinge upon digital ID? Yes. Evidence suggests that the future of employment will heavily depend on, and in many cases, in many sectors, hinge upon digital ID systems. So this will start making more sense now if you have to have a digital ID. If you logically break this down, I loved my logic class in 2006. If you logically break this down, in logic, the formula A plus B equals C represents the logical operation, meaning that C is true if both A is true and B is true. They both have to be true for it to be a logically sound statement with no fallacies. In the order of logic, if A is true and B is false, then what's the outcome? In a formula, in formal logic, if A, the antecedent, is true and B, the consequent, is false, the overall outcome of the conditional statement, if A, then B, is false. This is the only scenario where a logical implication A equals B is considered false. If A is true, B must also be true for the statement to hold. Now we're talking about having to have a job and digital ID. A plus B equals C. These things have to work together to make a true statement. If, yes or no, if the future moves towards a digital ID for employment, will those who do not have a digital ID be illegal? Yes, based on proposals in the UK, if a digital ID becomes the sole mandatory method to prove the right to work, those without one will be unable to work legally, making them effectively illegal employees. We're talking about logic. A plus B equals C.
Donald Trump just floated the idea of Americans who don't work be deported to other countries. That's right. If you ain't got no job and you ain't in one of those special categories, Donald Trump wants to deport you to a different country to live a different way of life so you won't live well. What do you think about Donald Trump now? So you better get a job because if you don't work, you're going to be deported.
And what if you don't get a digital ID? And now A plus B equals C, you will be the illegal. And this is where they're taking the illegals to. If the world moves towards a digital currency for digital payment, you're going to need a digital ID. Hypothetically, if the world moves towards a digital ID for employment, it would significantly facilitate digital currency payments for employment. Does Donald Trump want to deport people who cannot prove their identity? Yes, the Trump administration has pursued policies aimed at deporting immigrants who cannot prove their legal identity or continuous presence in the United States, specifically through expanded, expedited removal processes. These policies target undocumented immigrants. Yes or no? In the future, if people do not have a digital ID, would they technically be considered illegals? based on emerging digital identification policies and discussions, particularly in the UK and elements of the United States, the answer is functionally yes. Yes or no? Could we see an increase in digital ID in 2026? Y'all, there's like 9 billion people in the world. Listen to the answer. Yes, digital ID usage is projected to increase significantly in 2026, with studies predicting over 6.5 billion users, around 2/3 of the world, up from 4.2 billion in 2022. This surge is driven by mobile driver's license, government adoption in Europe, and increased use of biometric enabled wallets. Now, you have to pay attention to the words they use. Forever, Trump was saying illegal immigrants, illegal immigrants, illegal immigrants. But now he's just changed his words to illegals. We're going to go after illegals. We're going to go after illegals. So who do you think's about to be here? So I asked, why has Donald Trump changed his verbiage from illegal immigrants to just illegals? Donald Trump has shifted his rhetoric to predominantly using the term illegals rather than illegal immigrants or illegal aliens as a deliberate move to dehumanize the person, make his language more concise for political rallies, and emphasize criminality over legal status. This change aligns with his law and order messaging and his campaign promise to carry out mass deportation, dehumanization, by switching from a noun phrase, illegal immigrant, to a noun used as a label, illegal. The language removes the human element of immigrant and focuses solely on the illegality of their status, emphasizing criminality. The term illegal only is designed to imply that individuals are criminals, which critics argue is legally misleading, as being in the country without authorization is a civil offense rather than a criminal one. Trump frequently uses this shift to needle his opponents and reject what he refers to as political correctness. It is part of a broader, more aggressive rhetorical style that often characterizes unauthorized immigration as an invasion. Dehumanizing rhetoric. The term is seen as a way to reduce a person to a single negative legal status. And the whole world is moving towards a digital ID. And if you don't get a digital ID, you will be considered an illegal. And he's laying the groundwork to dehumanize anybody who is not legal. A plus B equals C. Dehumanizing rhetoric is a term seen as a way to reduce a person to a single negative legal status, stripping away the immigrant label, which critics and researchers say is meant to dehumanize and increase the sense of invasion. Law and order framing. Trump often claims that people here illegally are criminals who are getting out to prey upon innocent citizens, aiming to create a sense of urgent danger. Okay? So, he's painting the narrative that illegals are dangerous. So now, if you're not a legal person because you won't have your digital ID, they've already painted a broad brush that you're an illegal. They've got the legal framework in place, and they are already conditioning people to accept that those who don't want to have a legal ID are dangerous. Those that don't have a legal ID or an implanted ID, they might be coming into your house to rob your house for your food. They might be coming to steal this from you or that for you because they don't have anything and they are outside the system. These are dangerous people that need to be rounded up. A plus B is equal in C. and you won't be able to work because you don't have a digital ID. And he's talking about rounding up people who don't have a legal right to work. Using the logical formula A plus B equals C, if digital ID is made mandatory, then will your status now be illegal? Under the framework, such individuals would likely be deemed ineligible. Let me start all over. They would be deemed eligible for removal. Using the logical formulation A plus B equals C, if digital ID becomes mandatory and you don't have digital ID, would then you be deemed illegal in your status? Under the framework, such individuals would likely be deemed eligible for removal as the lack of mandatory digital ID functions to prove legal residence or employment. Deportation risk. Remember that man said Trump is wanting to deport you if you ain't working? If you don't have a digital ID, you can't work. If a digital ID is required to prove the right to reside or work, lacking it can lead to people being classified as illegally present. Now, what's the future of the digital ID? It is implants. The cell phone is not going to be holding your digital ID anymore. It will be in your body. So could information that is gathered in a digital ID wallet, like WalletMore, on a phone be transferred to an implantable RFID chip? Yes, information from a digital ID wallet on a phone in specific scenarios can be transferred to an implantable RFID chip. Can biometric information, like iris scans that you're opening your phone with? I don't have it. I got an iPhone 6. Or people that are using retina scans or thumbprint scans to sign on to their phone? Can biometric information gathered for identification be put into an implantable RFID chip? Yes, biometric information gathered for identification can be put into an implantable RFID chip. And this technology is already being used for secure authentication. Oh, but I can hear people say, I've been reading states are banning RFID chip implants. At least 13 U.S. states have enacted laws banning employers from forcing employees to have RFID microchip implanted, driven by concerns over workplace surveillance, privacy, and bodily autonomy. These preemptive measures, often dubbed Don't Chip Me laws, protect against mandatory tagging for tracking or data collection. So people are breathing a sigh of relief about that. But look at this. Could federal law override state laws on mandating RFID chip? Could federal law override any state law that would ban RFID chip implants if digital ID became mandatory? Yes, under the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution, federal law can override state laws that ban microchip implants if mandatory. Comprehensive federal digital ID system is enacted by Congress. So the 13 states right now that are writing laws to keep mandatory RFID chip implants out of their states can be overridden by federal law. Think about that. You think your state is protecting you by saying we're not going to make you get RFID chip, we're banning it? The federal government can come in and say, oh, yes, you will. And Trump's winning the 6G race that he wrote this executive order December 19th, 2025, supports implantable technologies, digital IDs, digital wallets implanted in the body. Those that don't get it will be illegals. Will 6G technology support and run, that Trump says is going to be used for implanted devices, run RFID chip implants? RFID integration. Current RFID implants used for payment or identification operate over short distances, but 6G's improved ambiguous connectivity could allow for better, more seamless integration and digital infrastructure. Human body as the antenna. Research suggests that the 6G technology that Trump just said we're going to win the 6G technology race and support implantable technologies. Research suggests that 6G technology could potentially use the human body to enhance the ability to collect radio frequency energy, which could, in theory, improve the efficiency of implanted batteryless devices. The ACLU. How to give the government new power to unperson someone in 3 easy steps. States that adopt digital driver's license need to rethink how IDs are revoked. You want to give government powers that brand new in human history, that are brand new in human history? Just follow these 3 easy steps. Build a digital driver's license with centralized revocation capability. Allow those IDs to be used for everything so people cannot function without them. And let the government officials yank people's IDs out of their wallets. It will take away people's ability to identify themselves online. You won't be able to do anything. You don't have a digital ID. You can't work.
Donald Trump just floated the idea of Americans who don't work be deported to other countries. That's right. If you ain't got no job and you ain't in one of those special categories, Donald Trump wants to deport you to a different country to live a different way of life so you won't live well. What do you think about Donald Trump now? So you better get a job because if you don't work, you're going to be deported.
But if you can't get a digital ID, you won't be able to work. You will be rounded up because you will be an illegal. A plus B equals C. A plus B equals C represents the logical operation, meaning C is true if A is true and B is true. You're an illegal if you can't prove your identity. Digital IDs are about to hit 2/3 of the world. You won't be able to work without it. You won't be able to prove your legal status. So you will be deemed an illegal, and the legal framework is there already for detention or deportation. Detention camps are facilities for confining specific groups, people that don't have RFID chips, often without trial. And I did a whole video the other day on these warehouses. Y'all need to go see it. How many warehouses is the Trump administration looking to build for illegals? The Trump administration, through ICE, is working on plans to establish a network of approximately 23 new facilities, including 7 large-scale mega warehouses and 16 smaller processing centers, to significantly expand ICE detention capacity. Now, if their goal is to detain, then why are they building 23 detention facilities? The new detention model for mass deportation has a goal of holding up to 90,000 people by late 2026. February 10th, 2026, a map of all 23 industrial warehouses that ICE wants to turn into detention death camps. So there's the map. There's one not very far from Baton Rouge, where I was born and raised. Okay, you can zoom in. You can zoom in to find their exact locations. Listen to this.
The question, if the purpose is to deport illegals, Why do you need to hold tens of thousands of them in these camps in America, in Kansas, for God's sake? No, seriously. Why? I mean, these expenditures include force protection equipment, 8-foot high box walls, earth-filled defensive barriers. I mean, services extend to medical waste management with protocols for biohazard incinerators. I mean, it's all over the country, as you can see. Yeah, there are going to be concentration camps in Minnesota, Utah, Arizona, Texas, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, Virginia, New York, Pennsylvania. A lot of them in Pennsylvania, Mississippi, Louisiana, New Hampshire. So my question to you is, again, who are these detention centers really for if they're clearly not for illegals, because the illegals are being deported? So who are they keeping in the concentration camps? So, what's bizarre is that as the U.S. economy is collapsing because of Trump's horrendous economic policies, mass money printing, punitive tariffs, cutting off supply chains, cutting us off from key technology from places like China, etc., these abandoned buildings are being turned into concentration camps. And, obviously that this is part of the depopulation agenda that Trump ran his first term through Operation Warp Speed, using the military to distribute bioweapons to try to convince people to inject themselves to death. Basically.
But the RFID chip, excuse me, the RFID chip will work with the nanotechnology that was injected in people from the shots. So they need everybody to get the RFID chip to work with that technology to advance their agenda. So if you don't get the RFID chip, then everybody cannot connect to the Internet of Bodies. There cannot be the Internet of Bodies, the Internet of Things, the blockchain society. They need the people to get the RFID chips. They're saying it's for identity, but it's going to be used to connect everybody. And they need that part of the technology, the RFID chip implant technology, to work with the nanobot operating system in the human body.
It was, government-assisted euthanasia. And it worked. It killed about 1.5 million Americans, according to solid estimates from people like Ed Dowd and others. But that wasn't enough, apparently. So now they're going to have concentration camps to, round up and exterminate probably millions more Americans. And that's why they've run these ICE agents on the streets. They're testing the execution squads to see what they can get away with. And they found that, most conservatives in America will totally support it. The question.
ICE is buying incinerators, and now we have proof. A Navy contract was just released showing the Navy is managing the construction of a massive network of immigration detention centers across the nation. And what's included in the contract is extremely disturbing. It describes tent cities that can hold 10,000 people each, with a specific provision for biohazard incinerators under the medical and death section. That means they are specifically planning for death and choosing to burn the evidence right there on site. The reason DHS is paying the Navy $55 billion for this is so they can get this nationwide network of giant detention centers with infrastructure for handling death built as quickly as possible. And they tried to do it quietly by updating the Navy's existing contract to make this deal instead of creating a new contract specifically for this. Here are my sources if you want more information. ICE is...
Yes or no? Can human ash from incinerators be used for human composting? They'll just use your ash to grow the next food in. While traditional human composting generally refers to breaking down the whole body into soil, cremated remains, ashes, can indeed be incorporated into the soil. Now, We're about to have fertilizer shortages because of the blockage at the Strait of Hormuz, but they'll just start using human bodies to grow the food in. Is the Strait of Hormuz causing fertilizer shortage? Yes, blockage of the Strait of Hormuz is causing significant global fertilizer shortage. About 1/3 of the world's seaborne fertilizer trade passes through this checkpoint. World faces severe food supply crisis if Strait of Hormuz blockage continues. Hormuz blockage hits fertilizer flow 2 days ago. The planting season is here and they can't get the fertilizer. But if these detention centers have incinerators, the ash can be used for fertilizer to grow the food in. Is human composting legal? Surely, Terri, this is not legal. They can't do that. Yes, human composting, legally known as natural organic reduction, is legal in a growing number of U.S. states, with legislation passing in roughly 13 to 14 states, probably where all these detention centers are, including Washington, Colorado, Oregon, Vermont, California, New York, and others like Nevada, Maryland, and Minnesota. This eco-friendly alternative to burial and cremation converts human remains into soil over several weeks. Human compost is legal in California, leading the way to Soylent Green. Think about what I'm saying. Human composting. A plus B equals C. ICE isn't really about deporting illegal immigrants or illegals now. That's just how it's framed publicly, so it is accepted by the masses. What it's really about is getting the public accustomed to military-style forces patrolling the streets for when the government puts digital ID and social credit score system that China developed into play in America. Arresting people without warrants and even unalivened citizens needs to become normalized, that less people will speak out or rebel when the militarized police are asking for your digital ID and vaccine passport in order to leave your neighborhood or sector. And when people are already cheering on the death of civilians, one couldn't be wrong to say it is working as intended. Jesus warned us in Matthew 24. He told his disciples, then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death because you won't take the mark of the beast, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. This prophecy warns of intense persecution, global hatred, and martyrdom for followers due to their allegiance to Jesus. And Revelation 13 tells us it's coming. Revelation 13 describes the second beast, the false prophet, giving life to the image of the Antichrist, which then demands worship and orders the death of those who refuse. It forces all people to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, prohibiting anyone from buying or selling without it. The mark is the name or the number of the beast, identified as 666, representing a human number. Yes or no? Could an implanted RFID chip be used to support the worship of a leader? Yes, an implantable RFID chip could theoretically be used to support the worship of a leader, as they can be used for identification, tracking, authentication, and enforcing compliance to an authoritative figure. A plus B equals C. This said ICE on the street is to get people used to seeing the military rounding up people. And look what is about to happen in April, next month, a few weeks. Listen to what is about to happen in April.
Crowd control and civil unrest. Secretary Hegseth, sir, a memo circulating on social media details the establishment of a National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo, and do you have any more information on the operations?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely...
Look at Trump smiling.
And deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo, and do you have any more information on the operations?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely do have multiple layers of National Guard response forces, whether it's in each state, whether it's regionally, whether it's Title 10 active duty, whether it's Washington, D.C. We've got a lot of different ways that constitutionally and legally we can employ Title 10 and Title 32 forces, and we will do so when necessary.
What are they about to do? Trump's administration is implementing a National Guard quick reaction force trained for crowd control and civil unrest to be operational and deployable nationwide, all 50 states by April 2026. ICE plans detention expansion with deal to design mega centers. That's working with the military. ACLU again, all the ways Palantir is assisting a Trump's abusive removal campaign. Elite system for data on targets. And you remember, Trump had Palantir build a database on every American citizen. Some of the ways they're tracking, quote, illegals or people that will not be compliant is schooling, your family relationships. So they find out, hey, this person right here is not getting the mark of the beast. They've got all this interconnected information. They'll find out who your family is. Go try to find you through your family. Employment information, your phone records, your immigration history, foreign exchange program status, your personal connections, any biometric traits that might be stored over here that might show up over here, criminal records, and home and work addresses. And Palantir is controlling all of this. Okay? According to ICE documents, the Immigration Operating System is an augmentation of the ICM, possibly using AI that seeks to parse vast amounts of data in service of three main priorities of the Trump administration: streamlining selection and apprehension operations of illegals, aliens, to identify and prioritize individuals targeted for deportation on basis of criteria. So Palantir is helping to round up people for deportation, to identify them, gathering information. Yes or no, is Palantir involved with digital ID? Yes, while Palantir claims to be a data processor rather than a collector, it provides software for government identity and target identification. Y'all remember the video I did? Palantir says they also kill people. ICE begins buying mega warehouse detention centers across the U.S., and Palantir is involved with them and identifying the people that's going to go there. How many warehouses Trump administration is looking to build for illegals? The Trump administration, through ICE, is working on plans to establish a network of approximately 23 facilities. ICE is building them, and they're working with Palantir. Palantir Technologies has a long-standing partnership with ICE. In April 2025, it was reported that Palantir was awarded a $30 million contract to develop new AI-driven platform for ICE. ICE to use software developed by Palantir, a new AI system. May 2025, Trump taps Palantir to compile data on all Americans. MAGA reacts to potential national citizens database by Palantir. Palantir building dossiers on Americans. Is MAGA upset that Trump had Palantir build database on Americans? Yes, reports from mid-2025 indicated that many Trump supporters, including prominent MAGA-aligned influencers, expressed anger, alarm, and a feeling of betrayal regarding reports that the administration was working with Palantir to build a centralized database of all personal information on Americans. Trump flipped on us. Leaked Palantir's plan to help ICE deport people. Internal Palantir Slack chats and message boards obtained by 404 Media show the contracting giant is helping to find the location of people flagged for deportation. Palantir is looking for people flagged for deportation. Means the people that will not have a digital ID, who can't work, will be flagged for deportation.
Donald Trump just floated the idea of Americans who don't work be deported to other countries. That's right. If you ain't got no job and you ain't in one of those special categories, Donald Trump wants to deport you to a different country to live a different way of life so you won't live well.
And he's already laid the groundwork that he doesn't know if illegals, people without documentation, have any rights. In May 2025 interview, President Donald Trump suggested that he was unsure if non-citizens in the United States illegally are entitled to constitutional due process, stating that providing such rights would slow down his planned mass deportation efforts. So Trump says he doesn't know if illegals have a right to due process before he would deport them. Using the logical formula A plus B equals C, if digital ID became mandatory, would those who refuse a digital ID lose citizenship of their nation? Here we go. Using the logical framework where A plus B equals C, the scenario can be structured as followed. A being mandatory action. Digital ID becomes mandatory in a country. C, a condition of refusal. Citizens refuse to accept or use the required digital ID. The consequence as defined in this hypothetical is the loss of citizenship. If A plus B equals C, if they become mandatory and you refuse, you lose citizenship of your country, so then you are an illegal. And where are the illegals going to go? Picked up by the military with the help of Palantir. Can the lack of giving you due process facilitate indefinite detention, held forever with no charges brought against you or no way to get out? Yes, and Trump says he doesn't know if illegals deserve due process. And if you don't take the digital ID, you will be an illegal. A lack of due process can and does facilitate indefinite detention, held under military control forever. Due process, the legal requirement that the state must respect all legal rights owed to a person as a fundamental check against arbitrary imprisonment. When this process is restricted or bypassed, individuals can be held without charge, trial, or a clear end date. So if you don't take your legal identification, your legal digital ID, you become an illegal and you have no rights and can be held forever under their arbitrary made up judicial system, however they want to treat you. And Jesus said they will persecute you and kill you. ICE is trying to avoid oversight by buying private prisons. The Trump administration is considering purchasing a number of private immigrant detention centers across the United States. Doing so may allow ICE to bypass state laws geared at curbing abuses in the facilities, mean they will do to the people in there whatever they want with no oversight. And we're about to see 2/3 of the world move towards digital ID in 2026. And A plus B equals C. If digital ID is mandatory, Under the framework, such individuals would be deemed eligible for removal as the lack of a mandatory digital ID functions to prove legal residence. If digital ID is required to prove the right to reside or work, lacking it can lead to people being classified as illegally present. Listen to Rachel Maddow. A broken clock is right at least twice. Okay? Listen to what she says.
In the existing prison camps they've got, Trump is already holding more than 73,000 people right now, which is a record. They want to build 16 new processing facilities and 7 new huge warehouse facility camps. If they build those, if they can build those 23 new facilities that they've said they want to build in these communities that I've been describing all over the country, if they can build those 23 new facilities, that'll give them the space to more than double the number of people they're holding in the camps. The biggest one they've got right now holds about 3,000 people. That's the one at Fort Bliss, where 3 people have died in the past 8 weeks. Again, about 3,000 people are there now. There's already people regularly dying there. 3,000 people there now. They want their new prison camps to be closer to 10,000 people. How do you think those facilities are going to be run? If they build them, they will fill them up. And yes, maybe they will use them for immigration detention now, whatever that is, their prison camps. But if history tells us anything, it tells us that once facilities like this are built in these kinds of numbers, once you get an archipelago of facilities like this built in numbers like this, yeah, they may start as immigration detention, but they're available to them indefinitely for whatever they want to do with those camps. And so you see something that has been mostly flying under the radar of the national media, but may absolutely be key to our destiny as a nation. Everywhere they are trying to build these things, including in the reddest states in the country, everywhere people are pulling out all the stops to prevent these camps from being built. And I have to tell you, if the country stops them from building them, they will never again have this kind of momentum to try to build a constellation of prison camps this large outside the reach of the law. I mean, why would we give this government that kind of power, that kind of tool to use indefinitely?
If you take an implanted RFID chip to try to stay alive and be able to live in this world and get food for your kids, it's going to cost you your eternal soul. But if you're not willing to take it and you're willing to die for Jesus, you will inherit eternal life. God says, do not take this mark of the beast that will force you to worship a man that is infield with Satan himself. We cannot give our loyalty to this. We cannot compromise.
Last night I talked about my involvement in the development of a little microchip implant. And many people have already taken that microchip implant. The news media has talked about it being a good thing. And they will tell you that it's a good thing to have this. Your children won't ever get lost again. They won't be able to give you the wrong medication. They won't be able to, you won't be able to lose this thing. And so the plan is underway that you will receive it. I would be remiss if I came to you and didn't tell you that God's word says, don't you take it. No matter how nice they make it sound. Tonight in the Science of Technology, I'm going to be showing you some things. I want you to understand that there is a conditioning that is done in people.
According to Revelation 14:9-11, taking their digital implantable RFID chip, the mark of the beast, results in severe divine judgment, including drinking the wine of God's wrath. Imagine God presenting you a cup that's filled with his wrath undiluted, unadulterated, God's pure wrath for taking the mark of the beast. Taking this implant will include drinking the wrath of God, experiencing eternal torment with fire and sulfur in the presence of God and his Lamb, having no rest day or night. It signifies the ultimate alliance to the Antichrist, leading to separation from God. Key punishments and consequences mentioned in the scripture and theological interpretations include eternal damnation for those who receive the mark. Physical plagues. Individuals who take the mark will suffer painful, malignant, and foul ulcers and sores, as noted in Revelation 16:2. Irreversible spiritual state. Taking the mark of the beast is interpreted as a final, unpardonable decision, signifying a total rejection of God. Those who take the mark of the beast will experience the full force of God's anger. Revelation 14:9 through 11. And a third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive the mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever. Imagine burning a candle, or imagine cooking something on the stove and you're fanning the aroma up to your nose. The smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Just because you want to buy some food. Condemn your soul to hell because you don't want to go without this crazy world's garbage. And Revelation 20:10 says, and the devil that deceiveth them. So if you take the mark of the beast, you were deceived by the devil. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. No matter how hard it gets, keep standing for Jesus. Because Jesus said, if you're ashamed of him before men, he will be ashamed of you before his Father. Say, no, thank you, devil. I'm not worshiping you. And say it loudly and proudly in front of everybody. I love y'all. Thank you for watching. Keep serving Jesus. If you appreciate the content that you find on this channel, would you prayerfully consider supporting the ministry?